Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to talk about the sex. I knew it. What your reaction is just right now? Oh, just take the sex like a basic biological concept, man. Bow, man. Okay, so let's start. Number one sentence is like sex at dawn. So challenges all conventional views on sex at once by diving deep into our ancestors' sexual history, the rise of monogamy and delivering starting points for thinking over our understanding of what sex and relationships should really look like. So, first I will share the favorite quotes. The bigger the society is, the less functional shame becomes. Yeah, it's true. If you have a less society there, you will be ashamed there to do the sex and to talk about the sex at all. So anyways, have you ever considered that you are most likely to read book whose message you already agree with? For example, the 4-hour work week was right, what I wanted to hear, and I'm assuming that's a big part of reason why I read in the first place. Sex at Dawn argues against monogamy, and the person who I heard about it from also does. I am at the other end of the spectrum, which makes reading this uncomfortable for me. But that also means I'm learning. So, it's something like that only. Christopher Ryan caused a whole lot of trouble with this one in 2010. But he also got a lot of people to think. Here are 3 things I think about most. Agriculture marked the beginning of monogamy, and not in a good way. Women want sex just as much but are conditioned to play it down. Our bodies have evolved to thrive in sexual competition. Let's start asking some questions. If you want to save and if you want to have the sex, what you will be think about the sex? What comes to your mind first? Okay, so leave about that one also. Whatever comes in your mind, I'm never gonna know it, right? Okay, monogamy first rose with agriculture, but not in a good way. The switch from our ancestor, sexual sharing is caring mentality in their hunter-gatherer tribes occurred once we started to settle down and farm our own food. Ryan argues this was hurtful to 2 things: our diet, our sex lives. Before we would just eat whatever we find and thus naturally have a high variety of foods and nutrients, but once we started mass producing the same few things, we took a toll on our health. Similarly, since hunter-gatherers did not settle, they didn't own much, neither possession nor people in the form of long-term partners. Now for the first time in history, there was a difference between rich and the poor. Those who had more land or a bigger farm were more prosperous. The tendency to try and own as much as possible brought out greed and jealousy in humans. Since the men did all the farming, the women lost their gatherer jobs and were now stuck taking care of the children. It now became important for men to know the children they own in order to pass other prosperous life they had built to them. The only way to make sure was to get a woman to stay with him, which ended up in public scrutiny of women who had sex with different partners, violence against women, and of course marriage. So women want sex just as much but are conditioned to play it down. Simultaneously, to the certain of marriage and the family, the notion arose that women's libido is lower than men's because men's high testosterone levels and their, especially today, often competitive behavior around women. The message we receive in public and the media is that women are prudes and less hungry for sex. But you know what? That is absolutely wrong. Studies have shown that women's libido is just as strong and lot more complex than men's. Means the women have the more capacity and the more sex power. When both hetero and homosexual women and men were shown erotic videos, while their arousal was measured by checking how much blood flowed to their genitals, all groups were aroused equally. Women's sexuality seems to be more fluid, however, as they were aroused by a much bigger variety of images. For example, even monkeys having sex. Interestingly, when asked to describe their arousal, the majority of the women in the study played down. Further proof that our society encourages women to be less sexual and the expectation is for them to be prudish. Sadly, we have gotten to a point where a lot of women comply. Our bodies are made for sexual competition. This is getting long, so I'll be brief. Here are a few quick facts that hint our bodies having evolved for lots of sex with many different partners. A man's testicles are stored outside the body for optimum sperm temperature and conservation. The shape of the penis is for high sperm precision. The thrusting motion during sex might be a way to try and pump out other man's sperm. Sperm has chemical in it that protects the first few drops from other men's sperms. Men are taller than women because women prefer their sexual partners to be taller. Women moaning loudly might be a call to attract further men to try and fertilize them. Women take longer to orgasm and can have sex longer to maximize potential partners for a sexual impregnation. Interesting, yes? Weird. Hell yeah. But interesting, nothing less. Especially because there is also scientific research to show our bodies have evolved for monogamy. I guess which one you believe is up to you, which brings me right back to the first paragraph and to the question. When you read these facts, what do you think? And more oftenly, and more importantly, even is that just what you want to hear? Sex at dawn. I do not agree with the message of sex at dawn, but that does not mean I didn't learn from it. However, in spite of it mainly promoting polygamy, it also makes some amends. The book does say we must not confuse sex and love, since they are two distinct things. Loving a single person more than anyone else is possible, but that doesn't align your sex drive to only be aroused by that person. Similarly, just because an affair is exciting, that doesn't mean it make it true love. Maybe the most important point of the book is this: don't take sex so seriously. See it as the biological impulse it is and respect that our sometimes odd sexual behavior is a remnant of the past. It was fascinated by the findings about the evolution of our bodies to have sex a lot and with different partners, as it completely contradicts the evidence found in Why is Sex Fun, which point to our bodies evolving for monogamy, not against it. Highly recommend you to share this podcast to everyone. I also suggest you to learn something about with this podcast. What else can you learn from this podcast? How many sexual partners our ancestors had? What the Romans thought of monogamy? What it was important to know, not to know who the father of the child is. What casual sex kept our ancestors relaxed. The 1% DNA difference between us and chimps. Why we often confuse love and sex. What can happen if our testosterone levels are too low? The societal antidote against all those problems. Who would I recommend this podcast to? The 20-year-old who sticks together with his high school sweetheart against all odds. The 42-year-old eternal bachelor and anyone who questions their sexual behavior. I hope you like it.